It was really only a matter of time before all of this that we're talking about became political. Well, CNN obtained last night a letter by the Republican National Committee. It was to the CEOs of 10 major theater chains, all urging them to put the movie back on their screens. Let me read you part of that letter. It was signed by the RNC chairman, Reince Priebus. He wrote this: "As a sign of my commitment, if you agree to show this movie, I will send a note to the Republican Party's millions of donors and supporters, urging them to buy a ticket, not to support one movie or Hollywood, but to show North Korea we cannot be bullied into giving up our freedom." Now, of course, Hollywood's always been identified as a Democratic town, so this was a rather interesting letter to see. Is this about tapping into a new donor stream? Is this a swipe at President Obama, or something else altogether? Well, let's bring in Sean Spicer, who is the RNC's spokesman. Good morning, Sean. Thanks for being here.
You bet, Brian. Thank you.
Is this just a PR stunt? Tell me about what instigated this.
Well, I think this isn't, as you alluded to, this isn't Hollywood and the Republican Party have had a love-hate relationship for years. This is not about Hollywood. This is not about the entertainment industry, and this is frankly not about this movie. I think, frankly, what this comes down to is the very fiber of America. If we can be bullied into not releasing a movie, you have to ask, what's next? Is it an energy company? Is it a mom and pop small store that gets told, don't show this? Is it someone who gets told you can't post a video to YouTube? And I think that we as Americans have a duty to stand up and show what we're all about when it comes to instances like this. Our view at the RNC was this was an opportunity. Somebody wanted to take away our freedom. And so what we want to do is turn it into an opportunity to reward those who give our freedom. And so what we said to the studio and theater execs is show the movie and guarantee that a share of the profits go to military organizations like the USO and the Yellow Ribbon Fund to help show the rest of the world that America knows how to stand and fight.
Have you heard from any of those 10 theater owner CEOs yet?
We have not. It's obviously over the weekend, but you have seen people like Mark Kirk from Illinois call for hearings. Senator John McCain had a piece in CNN this morning. I think that the momentum continues to move in the right direction with other people, not just Hollywood, business types, other Republican politicians getting on board on this and realizing that this is bigger than one movie and one industry.
You said in the letter that President Obama has been sending mixed messages about this movie. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think Alan Dershowitz referred to it a little earlier in terms of that there wasn't a clear sign from the administration early on. And what the chairman was alluding to was when he was asked about this incident on ABC News the day before, or on Thursday, he was a little murky about it. And then on Friday, after public opinion started to sway, it started to come out that, that Sony should release the movie. He said that Sony hadn't called. Sony, as CNN has widely reported, the Sony executives had been in talks with the White House. So I think the administration wasn't as forthcoming and as strong as they could have, and that's what the chairman was alluding to in the letter.
My reporting indicates that Valerie Jarrett was the main contact for Sony when these conversations were going on, but that it did not get directly to the president. And the president says if it had gotten directly to him, well, maybe there would have, maybe he could have tugged on the ear of the theater owners and weighed in on this matter. That would have been,
well,
and
Brian, you can't blame Sony or anyone else. I mean, it's not like the president has a direct line to him. We rely on the president's staff to do their job, and if the president's most trusted advisor, of which Valerie Jarrett is one of them, don't inform him of big incidents like this, you can't blame anyone else but the White House and the White House staff for it.
Let me play a soundbite from the president's interview this morning here on CNN on Candy Crowley's State of the Union. He was talking about how this is not just about, as you said, not just about one movie. Let's take a look. Actually, I think we don't have it. I'll paraphrase what he said. He said it's not just about Sony or movies. It's also about the news industry. He talked about CNN having critical coverage of North Korea in the past, and he suggested that all media companies, all news organizations have to be concerned about this precedent that might be set here, that an anonymous threat from hackers could actually change behavior. It seems to me, Sean, this might be a rare moment of agreement between the left and the right, between the Democrats and the Republicans.
Well, I would hope so. And I would take it a step further. I don't just think it's about media organizations, as I alluded to. I mean, first, when you look at the media entertainment industry as a whole, it's a major, major exporter of the United States that attributes to countless jobs, and then domestically is a major part of our domestic economy. But beyond that, as I said, I mean, what happens when a manufacturer builds something that another country objects to, or a small business posts something and they get threatened if they don't take it down? I mean, this is not just about the movie industry, and it's not about Hollywood. This is about who we are as America and the ability for us to be able to speak freely and express our thoughts and do things that may be controversial, but are part of the fabric of who we are and what we stand for. So I would take this well beyond the media industry.
Forgive me for being a little cynical here, but is this also for the RNC a chance to sign up some new donors, perhaps?
Well, if you look going back 10 to 20 years, I don't think you'll find many people with a Hollywood zip code donating to us. So again, I think if this was a ploy, I mean, there's a lot easier way to do. We've been very successful at fundraising over the last few years under Chairman Priebus. I don't think we need stunts like this to do it. And frankly, Hollywood wouldn't be the place that we would go to look for them. I think this truly comes down to sometimes you actually see people in Washington doing the right thing and standing for the right thing.
And if you don't hear from the theater owners in the next few days, what then? Is there any future plan to push this even harder?
Well, I think what the theater owners need to know is, and again, you saw like Mark Kirk call for hearings, Senator McCain get out there and others, that this is continuing to grow. This is not just people in Hollywood and producers and industry executives talking about this. You are seeing the American people, and what we want to do is have a groundswell of support, talk about people that are saying, it's not about the interview and it's not about the movie, but we will stand with the theater owners if they show this, because we want to show that America's bigger than this issue. So
well,
this
I got an idea for you, Sean. How about a screening at the RNC headquarters?
We'd love it. Feel free.
Sean, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.